In this module of end-to-end paid traffic shortcuts to building simple money funnels with the affiliate trend tail model, we are going to talk about Facebook ads. A lot of people think it's very, very difficult to get started with Facebook ads. They seem to get tied up and locked up in every aspect. In this module, we're just going to focus on making the ads, which for some reason really trips people up. So we're going to try to keep things nice and simple here, just like our model says. The first thing we're going to talk about here is what we're actually meaning when we say Facebook ad. When we say Facebook ad and the purpose of this model, we really mean promoted post. We want to advertise in the news feed only. We're going to use an image with a call to action and some text with it. It's perfectly fine to make ghetto images and ghetto ads. They convert really well in most niches. And the reality is, if you invest an hour in learning some kind of photo editor, it doesn't have to be Photoshop. We're going to show you free tools that you can use to easily make ads. If you invest a little bit of time making ghetto images, works great. And there's not that much more incremental work to make something that's really shocking and really stands out. One thing to keep in the back of your mind as we're doing this is that mobile matters. People on Facebook use mobile, whether they're on their smartphones, their iPads, etc. They are always using mobile to access Facebook, so you need to be aware of the fact that people will be seeing your ads from mobile. And in fact, that's something that you can turn off or turn on. When you create your ad, you can decide to display to mobile only, to only display to certain kinds of devices, or to not display at all to mobile devices and just display on the desktop. Something to keep in mind in your back of your head right now. First thing to really know when actually creating the Facebook ad is that not all ads are created equal. The image dimensions, the size of any images that you use, whether it be a video or a picture, in an ad is determined, or in a post is determined by Facebook's own terms of service. There's a great marketer named John Loomer that keeps track of the Facebook image dimensions, and he last updated his post that you can see the link here on the 16th of September. And there's lots of different rules based on the different type of ad you have. But if we're going to buy promoted post or buy sponsored advertising, there's really one rule that we need to keep in mind. The image ratio, in other words, the size of the image width versus height, is 1.91 to 1. So what that means is that on a desktop, the image that you see is 470 by 246. Whereas when you're on a mobile, you actually see a larger image. You see 560 by 292. That doesn't matter. What really matters is that the image ratio is correct, 1.91 to 1. I don't know where or how Facebook came up with that specific value, but that's what it is. And they actually recommend that when you go and create images and you create your ads, you use an image of 1200 by 628, and then they'll shrink that down to the right size. It has to be at least 470 by 246. I'd actually say the minimum you should use is the 560 by 292. The minimum should be the 560 by 292, but their recommended size is 1200 by 628, and then what they do is they shrink it down appropriately. There's a couple other rules with images. When you make an image, you can add text to the image, but only 20% of the image can be filled with text. Facebook, depending on the reviewer, gets really, really picky with this, the 20% rule. Wouldn't worry about it too much. Just make sure there's more image and white space than there is text. You should be fine. And then there's 90 characters of text, and obviously you can create a little title along with the post as well. Now, as I said before, most people when they think about image editing think about Photoshop and other very, very expensive tools. It does not have to be that way. Here's a list of perfectly good free tools for making ads. Paint.net if you're on the Windows platform, Pixlr, which is an online free platform, what we'll be using here. You can do all of this in PowerPoint just fine, and you can use a program like GIMP. And the nice thing about GIMP is GIMP runs just fine on Windows or OS X on your desktop. You'll also need a snipping tool. On Windows, they have a tool called the snipping tool that lets you just highlight and cut and paste areas of the screen to save. On OS X for the Mac, they just call this the grabber tool. But all of these tools are free. You should pick one and spend about an hour to learn how to use them. And with that, you'll know everything you need to be able to create pretty compelling and good ads for the Facebook platform. So here's the sample ad we're going to create. This is from the Sephora offer that we saw in module number 2. Not a lot to this. We just have an image shot, what's called a hero shot. Everything is bounded by a maroonish type box. And then we just say Sephora, save 66% on this exclusive Sephora beauty collection. And then a little get it now button. Not going to talk a lot about the copy here. I use the Sephora logo. Have no idea whether this is good copy, save 66% on this exclusive beauty collection. Maybe I need to improve the copy. That's all what testing is about. But to get up and started, this is about a 10-minute job to be able to create an image like this once you're experienced and kind of once you're used to doing this. So with that said, let's go through our low-tech, no-cost how-to. All right, here I am at the Pixlr site. Again, this is just pixlr.com, Pixlr.com. And Pixlr has a couple different versions of their photo editor, of their program. I'm going to use the Pixlr editor. You can create an account and log in here, but honestly, you don't need to. Excuse me. You can just start right up, and I'm going to go to the editor, and it pops up, and I'm going to say new image, and I'm going to need to know the size of my image. I always forget that, so I go back here and I see that 1200 by 628 is the recommended size for the image from our good friends over at Facebook. So 1200 by 628, and there we go. I've just created an image of 1200 by 628, and it has nothing in it. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to add the different layers or the different pieces that I need for my image. So if we look at the final product has this bounding box, has the picture of the beauty product, has another box, has the logo, a little bit of text, and a get it now button. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces that we want to add. Turns out that the button's actually 2 pieces put together. So 7 pieces that we want to put together. So let's go back here. Let's start with our box. I'm going to click on the main color. You can set your colors in either hue saturation values, RGB values. I'm simple and I pick web. Red seems to work really well. Some people like black, some people like bright red. Again, a lot of this is testing, but I am just going to use this darker red color. A lot of folks like the actual maroon version of that. Again, I usually stick to the 9.0 or the 9.9 variant of that. Either one of these can work. Any of them actually can work. I'm going to select this version. So this is red. I'm going to make a box. Here we go. I'm going to make a box here, and I'm going to have the border size start out as 5, and I'm not going to fill it in. So all I'm going to do is take my little cursor, and I put it right up in the corner. So the 2 edges are right in the corner, and I just drag this down so the 2 edges are right in the corner again. It doesn't have to be perfect, and then I let up, and there we go. There's our box. If I don't like, one of the nice things about Pixlr, and Paint.net works the same way, is it has a history, so it can go forward or backward. So here's a little history list. If I don't like this rectangle and I want to make it thicker or thinner, I can literally just undo it just by going up 1 level or 2 levels or 20 levels. And once I do that, it deletes the last action. Maybe I want to look at what a 10 would look like. So I can make a 10 thick. Let's see if we like that one a little better. Yeah. All right, I'll keep it 10 thick. That's good. All right, so that's the first piece of what we want to do. So what we've done is we've made our bounding box. Now we're going to put our image in. And this is optional. You don't have to do this, but I like to do this in layers. Layers are basically transparencies, one right on top of one another, to create the entire image. The nice thing with a layer is you can manipulate each layer separately, and makes it a little bit easier if you're going to do editing later. This little box right here creates a new layer. So I'm going to create a brand new layer. And it shows you that the layer is transparent, but anything that I put on here is different than the background, which is what we just filled in. So I'm going to have the layer here, and now what I'm going to do is I am going to grab my image. So it turns out that our offer here's our offer, for this Sephora beauty product. And we can scan here. Sephora Favorites Beauty Closet, $99. It's a $298 value with free shipping. Probably should have put free shipping in the ad. Maybe we'll do that as we work here. I can just grab this image itself if I wanted to. But what I really want is this actual zoomed image. So I went around and looked around a little bit for it. And here is the URL for that zoomed image. If you're not used to doing that and kind of hunting and pecking through on a web page, I can show you how to do that, but it's not particularly hard. Once you find the image, what you do need to do is you either need to save the URL for it, or you need to save it onto disk. I'm going to show you a little bit of both ways. So first, what I'm going to do is I have the URL up here just outside of the view frame. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to say File, Open Image from URL, and I'm going to paste that in. So here is our image, and click OK. And what Pixlr does is it goes and actually creates a brand new image for me with this on there. And if you actually look, it shrunk it down quite a bit. This is only at 44% because this image is 1500 by 1500 normally, which is actually quite large. So what we're going to do first is we're going to crop it a little bit. You see all this extra white space here? We don't want that. So what we're going to do first is kind of crop the image. So I'm just going to take my cropping tool and give it a little bit of white space above and below, but not much. And then crop that image down. Still a little bit too much white space at the top, and this is just a trial by error thing. And crop that down. There we go. So all I'm doing is using my cropping tool and then hitting enter. So now my image is still big. It's still 1498 by 968, and that's got to fit into this 1200 frame. So I'm going to shrink my image down to about 800 pixels high, I think, or sorry, 800 pixels across. And again, this is something that you're just going to have to play with a little bit. So if I move this to 800, that makes the height 517, which gives us plenty of room, I think. So here we go. Alrighty. So that's the image, and what I can do now is instead of showing it 44% resolution, I can show it at 100. And I can make this a little bit bigger so that we can see it. All right, so here's what our image is going to be, and it'll fit right in there. I think it'll be fine. So let's do this. Let's select it, edit. I can say select all. And now I can go back to my other image. This is actually what the ad's going to be. And once I selected it, now I can say paste it in. And after a little bit of time, it will actually paste the image in. So now I want to make sure that I'm on my arrow select icon, and now I can actually move this around a little bit. I'm going to move it over to the side. Notice we're at 90%. I'm going to move that back up to 100 and then just stretch this out a little bit so that we can see it. There we go. That's pretty good. And we created a new layer. I actually want to put the image maybe a little bit lower. That's good. So I'm going to leave it here for now, and you can tweak this as much as you want. It turns out that when I pasted the image, it actually created its own layer. So this layer 1 is completely empty. I can reuse it right now. I'm going to reuse this layer 1. I'm going to create the next box. So if we remember from the ad, what we're trying to get at is we want a little box here. So I'm going to create another box. Select this, and I can pick a rounded corner or a straight edge. I'm going to use the straight edge box, but I want my border to be much smaller. I'm still going to use this this maroon tone, and maybe I'll start my box here, and I'll go this far. So let's see how that looks. I don't need this navigator here. That looks pretty good. Oops. So now, if you notice, this layer is being covered. So let me just swap the places with it. There we go. So here's my box, and maybe this box is not in the best place. Maybe I want to move it over a little bit. Maybe I want to move it down. I'll leave it right here. So here's my box. So now at this point, let's see, I want to add the Sephora logo. Well, I have this logo actually saved to my disk right now. So I'm going to open the Sephora logo. So here's the Sephora logo, and now I can do an edit, select all, edit, copy, come back here and do an edit, paste, and here's the Sephora logo. Now I'm just going to put it right in the middle. How's that? That looks pretty good. All right, so now let's add our text. I'm going to select the A tool, which is the text tool, and now I'm going to figure out where I'm going to put my text. And what did we say? What did we use? Save 66% on this exclusive Sephora beauty collection. So that's good. Save 66% on this exclusive Sephora beauty collection. And let's see. I can play around with this a little bit. Let's put it centered. And we can change the font. I'm going to use Tahoma as the font type, and I'm going to make it bold. And how did I do it? On this, and then I had exclusive. So I did here and then here. All right, 66%. Yeah. Okay. And beauty and collection. I had beauty and collection as two separate words. All right. I'll just copy it like this. So this looks pretty good. And again, since this is in its own layer, I can select the arrow tool and I can move this around and center it a little bit. So that looks fine. And if I wanted to, if I went back, I could actually select the text again, and I could do something like save 66% plus free shipping on this exclusive Sephora beauty collection. Maybe that may be a little bit better. Let's give that a try. All right, so same idea. And let's move it around a little bit. And maybe here. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to make our button. So we can create another layer for that. Here's our new layer, and let's create our button. So to create our button, I'm going to make a rounded corner here, not that this really looks the best. And I'm going to change the fill shape back to the red that we were using before. I think that's it. So now I'm going to just draw our button. And this is going to take a little bit of experimentation as to how big the button should be. So you may find yourself going, undoing and then going back and undoing and going back. But this looks pretty good. So now once I have the button, here's kind of a cool effect you can do. This little box with the star on it is the layer styles. I can create a drop shadow for that button. Or I can go with an inner shadow for that button, a bevel for that button. I'm going to create a drop shadow for that button. And when I create that drop shadow, I can start to play a little bit with the distance. So I think I'm only going to go 5 and maybe set the size to 5 so it kind of grays it out. So that looks pretty good. I'll leave it at that. And now I want to put some text on here. So I'm going to select my text here, and I think the text that I used was get it now. Yeah, I did. That was the text I used, was get it now. Now, interestingly enough, I had the text color as red, so that's not the best choice. There we go. So I want to say get it now, and then I want to pick a font. And in this case, I'm going to use this Agency FB font. And I didn't like the way it looked in bold, so I kept it in regular. You may want to make this a little bit bigger. 42, I think, is a little, maybe a little bit too big. Maybe not. 38. That looks pretty good. It was set to 30. 32 looks pretty good to me. I'm going to leave it at 32. All right. And what I can do is if this text is a little bit off, I can just center it. There we go. All right. So here we have it. So we have our image, we have our border, which says Sephora, which is the brand. Save 66% plus free shipping on this exclusive Sephora beauty collection and get it now. So now all we need to do is file and then save. And I may call this Sephora ad 2 because I already made one to show you before. And this image is going to be 150K. Facebook will obviously scrunch this down. What I actually recommend is that you save it at 100% quality, and you can always change, you can always load it and then bring it down to 80, but save it at 100% and then let Facebook scrunch stuff down. So I would save that. The image is saved, and I'm actually done. So it took 20 minutes, actually less than 20, about 15 minutes to make this from scratch. And now that looks an awful lot like this, but obviously has a little bit different text and slightly different layout because I didn't lay stuff out exactly to the pixel. But that's how simple it is for you to make an ad that you can use in Facebook. See you in the next module.